Hello and welcome to Breathwood. My name is David Yates. This is my second tutorial of the evening, and I want to talk about the flute sound again. Um, the flute sound has been mostly eluding me for years. It just doesn't make that much sense to me. Until this. This is an Egyptian ney. What's so interesting about it is that it has no actual mouthpiece, it just has an opening. I thought I could never play this. Before I actually learned Didgeridoo, I thought circular breathing would be impossible. Then one day, I decided I could learn it, and I did. My coworker at the World Music Store was messing around with one of these, making a sound. So suddenly it seemed possible. He showed me a tutorial, and that's what started getting me on this path. In the tutorial, the teacher takes his finger and puts it in the middle of the mouth, then places the opening of the ney at the side. So now this edge here, the front edge, aligns with the middle of the mouth. The mouth then makes this shape like kissing, like a grandma kiss, puckering, like you're whistling. This took me a while to get, but my mouth started to form the right shape. You're basically trying to put one side of the flute along the curve of the mouth to completely seal it, and trying to blow air just along one really small point, actually. So it's like trying to focus the air with the mouth and the edge of the flute. And as you can see, it's a very small hole. That's actually better than I usually make it. So I've been practicing this for about a week and getting it a little bit more consistently each time. In the beginning, it was just, but now I'm finding it more often. So I went back to the didgeridoo, and I remembered that a lot of the lessons online talk about using the tongue. You kind of stick the tongue at this forward edge here, the edge closer to you, and start blowing. And I've done this off and on for years. And you can hear it in there. I'm starting to get it. But there are a few little tips and tricks that I think are starting to make it more consistent. One is this tip from the ney video. Putting this finger across the front of the mouth helps line it up so the didgeridoo edge, this edge, the one I'm blowing across, is in the middle. So that helps. Two, going back to the ney, the opening is actually quite small. I'm only blowing over maybe a tenth of the edge, this very small bit here. Not the whole thing, not half of it, not this whole edge here, just one little bit. So if I look at the didgeridoo here, I'm not blowing across this whole edge. I'm trying to focus just maybe here. So to do that, I have to put my tongue out and kind of low and fat, not like this, but let it round forward a little bit. There we go. And now you can see that I'm creating an opening just toward the upper part of the mouth. I'm matching this part of my lips along this edge, or back edge of the didge. Hard to show you. Then making that kissing shape, which almost starts to work. Edge is at the middle. You can hear it almost works just with that. And then to fill in the space so it's not such a big edge, tongue at the bottom. Now, I had it much more clearly and consistently on a totally different didgeridoo. That one had even more of an edge than this one. But this has a pretty thin edge. So the type of edge will make a difference. Experiment if you have multiple didgeridoos, but I'm thinking that a thinner edge will be easier than a thicker edge. I thought this one would be a little bit easier, but for some reason it's giving me more trouble than the plastic didgeridoo I have in the shop. Maybe I'll show you at some point how that didgeridoo sounds. I get the flute sound, no problem with it. So, whole rounded part of the mouth, whole edge of the mouth against the back curve of the didge. Then the kissing shape, small opening, line it up in the middle, tongue at the bottom, roll forward a little bit. And play with the angle of the didgeridoo to your face. From all the way sideways, which is too much angle, to all the way almost forward, not enough angle, somewhere in between, around 45 degrees, maybe a little more. And I'm trying to think of other tips as I work on this even now, and that's about it for now. Obviously, softer breath is a lower tone, harder breath is a higher tone. You can play with breath speed as you try to get it, but until you're getting at least one of the pitches, it doesn't matter too much. Just exhale like you're fogging a window lightly through this opening, and try to make the opening of your air fairly small right across that edge. So those are some tips for the flute sound on the didgeridoo. And when I'm back in the shop, I'll show you the didgeridoo that suddenly made it way easier. The edge and the size of the opening make a huge difference. Back to the neigh. See, so the flute sound on the didgeridoo comes from, a flute sound on an actual flute. And we're just trying to recreate this embouchure. The embouchure is like the mouth position. So in relation to the flute, you can see what kind of shape, hole, and angle you need. To me, that looks roughly 45 degrees. So I hope that helps. Keep working at it. If you have a really thick didgeridoo opening, like really wide wax, I would consider making the edge a little narrower. That'll help with your playing anyway. If it's wood and it's really wide, can't do quite so much there. But when you get it right, it shouldn't matter as much It's just easier to do on a narrow edge. You know, the edge of this flute is quite thin. So that's flute sounds on the didgeridoo part 2, and part 3 will be coming soon. And I can't wait to show you that I can actually do it. It's taken years. It's taken years. So if it's taking you years to get the drone or circular breathing, that's all right. Eventually, if you build these muscles, you'll get it. Trust yourself, you'll get it. Thanks again for watching. Contact me if you want me to come to your country for a workshop. We don't need that many people to sign up to get me there, actually. And I would love to come visit you and meet you and jam with you. That's the best part. We can do the workshop. I can teach you all kinds of tips and tricks and rhythms, but the jamming is where it's at. I love it. So, as always, thank you for watching. Happy playing, and I'll see you soon.